Hi all, and we're going to go into some sub-intel, connect the dots, reaffirming things from what we've previously said or hinted at, and some pointers. The announced this week, I've done this a few times recently, about so-called famous people dying. Now some of them are really old, but a lot of them aren't. Is it a coincidence or a coincidence? So this first one is the chef Andrea Zamperoni, who was reported missing on Monday, has now been found dead, according to the New York Police Department. And in a statement, the NYPD said the 33-year-old's body was discovered in a building in Queens, and that the cause of death remains under investigation. Now, Zamperoni apparently was the head chef at Cipriani Dolci, a renowned Venetian restaurant inside New York City's Grand Central Terminal. Quite why that made national news, I'm not entirely sure, but obviously it's connected. Also this week, David H. Koch, who joined his brother Charles Koch in business and political ventures that grew into the nation's second largest private company, and a powerful right-wing libertarian movement that, according to the piece, helped reshape American politics, has died this week. He was 79. Now, Charles Koch announced the death in a statement which gave no cause, but noted that David Koch had suffered from prostate cancer in the past. Now, hitching his start to the soaring ambitions of his older brother, David Koch became one of the world's richest people with assets of $42.2 billion and a 42% stake in the global family enterprise, Koch Industries. The zombie, better known as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was treated for a tumour on her pancreas this month, according to a court spokesman. Justice Ginsburg has tolerated treatment well, and the tumour was treated definitively, according to a court spokesman. Now, from August 7th, I think it was, she undertook 3 weeks of chemo, which ended on Monday, and then she was wheeled out on to the public on the same day. Like that happens. All sounds very Weekend at Bernie's to me. Donald Trump on Friday savaged the Federal Reserve Chairman in a pair of tweets, slamming Jay Powell as an enemy. Strong words. And he went on to say, who could pose a bigger risk to the US than Chinese President Xi Jinping. And he was quoted as saying, as usual, the Fed did nothing. It's not meant to. And it's incredible that they can speak without knowing or asking what I'm doing, which will be announced shortly. Sure, he said that about a month ago, but I digress. And Trump tweeted, we have a very strong dollar and a very weak Fed. No, we've got no Fed, Mr. Trump. None, zero. There is no Fed. But according to Trump, I will work brilliantly with both, and the US will do great. Perhaps now Trump and his team are now seeing what the trust has said all along of how the Fed is raping this country to fill the coffers of their own dwindling ilk. You know, why is he even doing business or discussing them? Close them down. They're offering nothing. They can't do nothing. They've got no license. Just close them down. Something we've covered several times, and another news story broke this week, this time in Kentucky. We don't cover that state too often. And the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, which is the state agency that provides child protective services, as a practice of obtaining blank emergency custody orders that were actually pre-signed by the judges. Normally, they have to go before the judge, like a live judge, but this is not what happened in Kentucky. The judge was signing custody orders like he was signing predated checks. So social workers, yes, I'll call them workers. I have another similar sounding word to them people. Then fill out the documents with the necessary information after they've been signed by a judge. So the judge is putting people in custody without even knowing who they are or the background. And then they use them to take custody of the children from parents who have come, quote, under investigation. So let's repeat that. No judge actually reviews these orders or the evidence used to justify separating a family before signing them. You know, this is an abuse of parents' rights and basic civil liberties. And it only came to an end after, thankfully, we got some investigative journalists, and a report by WDRB 41 highlighted the practice. It was previously copies of the blank orders with signatures from the Jefferson District Court judges were left at the home of the Innocents on Market Street and filled in by cabinet workers, essentially giving them the power to remove children without a judge reviewing the allegations written on the order or filling out other necessary documentation. Planned Parenthood goes far further than people realise. The system that is currently set up there allows for social workers to call an on-call judge on the phone and then fill out the order themselves, and a blank order with a judge's signature on it. According to the attorney who's taken this case on, Karen Faulkner. And she stated that children are being illegally taken from their home without judges' proper authority. And in some cases, attorneys and some judges claim cabinet workers have used blank copies of the pre-signed child removal orders to take kids from their parents. This is a national disgrace. Again, where's the accountability? And it's only later that they fill in the allegations and some other items on the order to justify that they've taken the child. Well, the child's already gone by now. And the judges and attorneys for the parents don't see the orders until a hearing 3 days after the child has been removed. Who knows what happens in those 3 days? You know, we've covered many things of what happens to children in this show. I don't have to repeat them. But this is similar to the Baker Act, where someone can make an allegation with no evidence and get somebody else locked up. No balance, no chance for the parents or whoever filed the Baker Act, like the defendant. No. Just, I'll sign this. These are our kids they're doing this with. And yes, there is a lot of poor families and the kids are not being looked after well, but there's also a lot of families where kids are being removed from good families. Why? Like I said earlier, you'll know why. UK next. As predicted, Parliament will be suspended just days after the MPs return to work in September, and only for a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Now, Boris Johnson said a Queen's speech would take place after the suspension on October the 14th to outline his very exciting agenda. Really, Boris, there's nothing exciting about you ever. Most boring man ever. But it means the time that the MPs have to pass the laws to stop a no-deal Brexit on October the 31st will now be cut. And the House of Commons Speaker John Bercow said that it was a constitutional outrage. Now, the Speaker, who does not traditionally comment on political announcements, stated, however it is dressed up, it is blindingly obvious that the purpose of suspending Parliament now would be to stop MPs debating Brexit and performing its duties in shaping a course for the country. Like I said, all as forecasted when I was still on Cosmic Voice of what would happen. And as for the Speaker's comments, it is stopping MPs debating it. What have they been doing for the last 40 months? 40. months and still not implemented a policy that the public voted for. It's that spinning wheel again. Just keep spinning the wheel. It's a bit like the wall. It's a bit like the FISA documents. It's coming. No, it's not. We'll have to debate it a bit more. It's a bit like the Russian collusion. Spinning wheels. Epstein will be the same, sadly. Leaders of the world's 7 most developed, I wouldn't say that, countries descended on Biarritz for their annual G7 summit in the past week. And the report back was there was more disagreement than harmony among the group. No surprise there. And they described it as more petty squabbling than in a soap opera. These are your world leaders. And some ask, why do we have to do a plan? There's your answer. Something else to take note. The advocates of everything will change with mass arrests. It's a year this week that John McCain died. It's 9 months since George Herbert Walker Bush, Sheriff, died, according to official sources anyway. Of course, Epstein's now gone, and not much has changed, has it? There's a message in there. Next piece. I do worry about the future of humanity when I heard this story on Monday. The first ever crime in space, which is a misnomer in and of itself, given NASA's antics. And a woman on the International Space Station hacked into another woman's bank account whilst aboard the space station. It is alleged anyway. Seems nowhere sacred from skullduggery in and around this planet, no matter where you go. Also, there was a report this week, I'm just going to cut it right down to the gist of it, which we have warned about in previous shows, that home sales are now hurting badly as well. And even with lower mortgage rates and sales that picked up briefly in July, purchases of homes are still down significantly compared to last year. Now, while analysts typically cite higher prices and growing worries about a possible recession, another factor is also playing a prominent role, they said: foreign buyers, something else we've covered in the show, and in particular the Chinese. They have pulled back sharply from the US real estate market. Like I said, something we warned of many months ago. The Jyske Bank and their story we ran last week, the minus 0.5% mortgages. Some people, well, a lot of people actually think that is for our benefit. Nope. If you never believed or dismissed all of my warnings about banks, and there'll be further mentions of that shortly, then that article should have made you sit up and realise the dire warnings it contains. Now, the problem is dire warnings will be missed by most, as their focus is, we will get cheaper mortgages. And the bigger picture of why is lost. In the article itself, it mentioned of the investors that are backing that enterprise. Why would investors lose $500 out of every $100,000 they invest in? There must be a catch, some will think. Maybe some hidden fees to bump the money up. No, not this time. What they are doing is saving their nest egg. Now, some again will think they're being stupid. How are they saving when they are losing money on that investment? The answer is they know what is coming, and they are prepared to lose interest gained and give away 0.5% to protect them losing 10, 20 or 50% or more of their nest egg coming soon. So negative 0.5% to them people is not too bad. What they are telling you is everything is about to collapse and there will be nothing left. It's a smart move by them, if you ask me. That should have given you your own warning without listening to me or Kim or anybody else. Final sub-intel. Some people have emailed with various ideas of how to overcome many hurdles, and most of them are valid or good ideas. And whilst I don't give out plans or operational matters, which some non-thinking people still demand, we have tried many of your suggestions and more, way more. But some have asked recently, have we worked with the minions stepping down? And the answer is many of them, as that is the remit of working for the trust. It's not Kim's role to eliminate anyone or any group. If they act right and will not impede anyone else, then she will engage. For an example of her doing that, she engaged Tank and the RV crew and taught them reality, and yet got a load of personal abuse back for doing so. But at least one of the proponents of the RV, Tank, walked away from it. One of the Koch brothers walked away after speaking to Kim also, plus many other examples of governments, heads of state and central bank people as well. But the gist of why there's no breakthrough with the minions is a few-fold. One, some of them are sent by their paymasters to find out more info. Two, they are looking after their own interests only. Three, they're wanting the codes from Kim. Or four, they'll offer Kim a platform that will deliver the funds, but, and there's always a but, they want to control it. So that is the gist of a few years and thousands of calls that Kim has taken from these people. They're stuck in the two worlds. The majority of them are self-serving and or still operating for their paymasters, who subsequently, I might add, don't pay them. Some of them haven't been paid in years. Well, if you're paid with dinars, that's not going to go anywhere. The next stage is all their world will collapse. There's several warnings of it, not only from this show. And no doubt they will come back to Kim and say, you never warned it would get that bad. Well, she did, and you didn't listen. And therein lies the problem. They only tried to manipulate her, good luck with that, and stay on their we must control everything path. So that's the stalemate with the minions. They're quite prepared to help Kim, but all they're doing is helping themselves and trying to control the funds out of the trust. One day